Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another wonderful day of VALORANT Challengers North America for Stage 2. We're at the end of our second week of competition here. Time is absolutely flying by already. It's been incredibly insane. Yesterday was insane. Hoping to get a little bit more of that today, and I cannot wait to dive back in. My name is Sierra, and joining me, well, I have none other than my babes, Lemon Kiwi, and, you know, Vance is here too.
What an insane!
Her too.
Today's insane. I'm insane.
You're going red.
Insane.
Breathe, breathe, breathe. You're going red.
You want it? That's how what you want it?
Yeah.
I'm lost for words. I don't know what that's from. I'm just, you know, Vance takes one day off and he comes back and Vance, you try and break the show immediately.
With a vengeance.
Wow, tragic. I mean, you missed a fun day yesterday.
Apparently.
I mean, we got the upset of upsets. We had, even if it was 2-0 types today, it was a crazy one.
Yeah, what the heck? Here, let me fill you in, Vansilli, from your coma. M80 lost to Blinn University, or Blinn Esports, not a university, but M80 lost to Blinn. It's actually insane. And then, I don't know if you heard the news, Vans, but Nitro's not on the team anymore.
I heard that. Yeah.
Oh, okay, so you're somewhat on
social media.
You're not under a rock. Okay.
No, and I also actually watched VODs just this morning just to catch up on those results, actually. And you know what? I think it's more on, like, giving a lot of praise more to Blinn Esports than it is to M80 as this quote-unquote super team now, because Blinn actually looked very good. Both of these teams played some amazing Valorant yesterday, and Blinn was really good on capitalizing on those small mistakes that M80 did and took it over. Like, they had some great games. M80 was a little bit, you know, one-dimensional because they're still trying to figure it out. I think we were still trying to figure out if Net was the new IGL coming in here and have shoes to fill into Nitro spots, and, you know, it's the result that we've gotten. But if anything, I'm also very, very happy about YFP's results against Winthrop as well.
I'm happy for YFP, but for Winthrop, it kind of just seems like a little bit of a tough one, considering that we've been seeing improvements coming out from the roster, and what we saw yesterday, I think, for Winthrop fans is a little bit troubling. But there definitely is the opportunity for next week to kind of fix that going forward and see what they can be changing around. But we got to talk about the matches that we have for today, because when we're talking about a little bit of troubles and switching things around, I think that definitely encapsulates our very first series on the day. Fluffy Aimers going up against Sad Esports. Later on, it's going to be Oxygen going up against TSM. So today, I think Jen honestly can shake up in a variety of ways.
Don't we just have, like, the most cute matchup to start? Like, Fluffy versus cute little bear? It's so kawaii-pilled. I don't know. But hopefully we're just going to get a lot of violence to offset that here in our Valorant game. They're going to shoot each other, Sierra. I don't know what to tell you, but Fluffy Aimers...
Fluffy has a gun, and then Sad is like has an X to your eye, being like, "This is gonna be you today, Fluffy Aimers." So it's
they have the patch on the wrong eye, I think. Actually, I just noticed that.
I didn't know that was the right way to wear a patch.
Well, it's usually on your busted eye.
On the bad eye.
Yeah, but
so you can still see out your good one.
If you're dead, you can't see off of any eye.
That's so
you're
real.
So already you're just saying Fluffy Aimers takes this. All right, this has been some fantastic.
No, I'm saying this is what Sad's gonna do with Fluffy Aimers. You're gonna look like our bear. That's what I'm saying.
But all right, well, we'll settle this another time. We have a matchup to discuss, and we'll talk about the Kawaii team here of Fluffy Aimers, because this is a team that, I don't know, they feel like they've come so close at times. You see that even with the changes, Jen, there is these potential here, even from the original parts of the roster. There is a lot of power, but they're not getting these wins. Some of the games have been close, but they're not getting the wins.
I feel like this team is on the rise, but they could have been there's a point of regression almost, because Fluffy Aimers, I felt like, could have been far in the mid-season cup. They took Moist Shopify, one of our best teams, to a deciding map in the quarterfinals and then lost. So what was interesting to me is in the round of 12, they beat Winthrop University and then lost to them in week 1. So are we going backwards? Is it just a week 1 funny? Where does Fluffy Aimers fit in our rankings? Because I had a lot of stocks in them, but the loss to Winthrop was a little concerning.
It's a premise of what you were just saying before we started the show here, Sierra. It's basically teams right now for today, especially in this matchup, are two teams that have gone through roster changes going into stage 2 and just trying to figure out the right foot going forward right now. And this game went really back and forth. And to what you're seeing here, Lemon Kiwi, it does make sense here that this could be a victory that shouldn't be surprising for Winthrop University to take, because you know they keep going back and forth, and because the competition is so close now in this stage, it could definitely be anybody's game. If you remember this game from last week, there were so many players, and especially Mummy, by the way, had some great clutches on an Omen on Lotus, and as well as his TP play against the lockdown on Ascent that surprised us as well. So it shows right now that for both of these teams, at least for last week, between FAIM and Winthrop, they still have great rosters.
Yeah, and from that series, from what I remember, and on their map pick of Lotus, they really struggled in the post plan. So at least they got on the site, you know, step 1, and they had good retakes of their own, but just not enough to really circumvent the score. And then on Sunset, there was just a lot of momentum, a lot of a big early lead for Winthrop that led to a mountain that Fluffy Aimers couldn't overcome. So as long as they don't let the opponent get too far ahead, Fluffy Aimers can compete with anyone. And
to try and deny the SAD Esports trying to get ahead here, we got to talk about IGL Pancakes and actually compare here to SAD Esports and their own IGL Darkest. This is going back from last week, and honestly, sometimes fans, when we see the IGL, sometimes it might be more so bottom of the scoreboard here. You're trying to call for the team, you're trying to be putting up numbers. Pretty good numbers all around, and I think too that we could see maybe this IGL diff, whether it is in the fragging today or whether it is the calls in today's match.
And I think for me right now for Dark is in week 1 to see these types of performances coming out from Dark is actually great, because he only just started taking the IGL role away here from what used to be Dip's role going into this team, right? Back when they played together in Northwood, it was Dip calling, playing the Silva, and having some great calls, allowing Northwood to be so good in the collegiate scene and pretty much winning everything. As for Darkest now, you're working overtime because you have to think about how your opponent plays, how you're going to play against them, and still put up numbers and still be like even on the top mid-pack of the fragging department, which is great. But there's still a lot that SAD Esports has to be working through right now because of, again, Darkest is a new IGL. Coach Joe coming in as a new coach. There's a lot of different factors right now that SAD Esports has to kind of like fix, not necessarily right away, because I like to say that they still have like 5 weeks to figure things out. And I think for them as an objective is just to make it to the top 8 in the playoffs. If you could do that right now in your 5 weeks remaining, and you still have 5 weeks to work things out and maximize your points to try to make it through, then I don't think necessarily that today is like the, oh my God, we have to like play our best, you know?
I mean, when we're talking about teams that have had changes going into the second stage, I don't think any have been as drastic as SAD Esports getting a new coach and 2 members to the team. I mean, seeing the loss of Bob and Zulsul here, I mean, Bob was someone that we've talked about a lot. Like, she has these accomplishments behind her, and now all of a sudden you have this IGL trying to be leading this new team here. And in a time where SAD Esports was already kind of just middle of the pack. So, Jen, I definitely don't kind of envy the position that they're in. I'm hoping that now that we're in week 2, considering they had very little practice going into last week, that maybe going on forward, this is where we can start to see some of the highlights coming out from the squad.
Yeah, SAD were a team that needed to make roster changes, and whether it was the players that departed on their own will or whatever. And I think the loss of Bob is massive. That was by far one of their best players, and this was a team that didn't have a very solid like second initiator. They really loved the double controller single initiator, so there's a lot of weight on Bob's shoulders to deliver on that initiator role. So now she's being replaced by Alvin, who played duelist, played sentinel, which has caused a shift in a lot of those roles. And then Zoe, who was their controller, also left. So this has caused a lot of role shifts to be happening. For example, Coburg, who was their sentinel, is now taking over the Omen duties. And Dip is coming in, who is another initiator player, but doesn't have the immense agent pool that may allow them to go to any map of the opponent's choosing. So, like you said, Sierra, this is a roster under construction, but how long is it going to take to build up?
Yeah, and I want to piggyback on that as well. I feel actually that Dip was trying to replace Bob at this point for SAT Esports, where for me, it was kind of like there's a pro and con to it. Yes, Bob is an amazing fragger as an initiator and could clutch so many rounds. It could be an entry even at times, whereas Dip maybe doesn't have the same type of firepower that Bob has, but at least he brings the IGL role to the team. But now that the role is going over to Darkest, for me now it's just trying to figure out now how you iron things out, because if you're looking at this roster, you're having role changes from a lot of these players, but potentially now forcing agent changes on players like Dip, and hopefully it pans out if you're going to play and approach maps that you don't really necessarily have to play a Sova all the time, right? Because when I think about Dip, I think about Sova, and when I think about Bob, I also think about Sova.
I mean, that's going to be the biggest thing for me looking on forward, is when we see the map pools coming on out, what Dip is going to be going to, and kind of where SAT Esports decides to be building out. To be kicking things off, though, this Fluffy Aimers pick, this is a Sova map through and through, Jen. So maybe we don't see the change here, but Ascent definitely a solid one to kick off the series.
Yeah, Fluffy Aimers have a preference towards Lotus and Ascent, and they'll usually always first ban Icebox, and the second ban really depends on the team. SAT Esports is a hard one to figure out on where their preferences are, because they're very scattered. They don't really have a clear favorite. So maybe this is, while this roster's under construction, figuring out where their strengths are is part of that exploration. Or they could also be counter-picking towards their opponent's weaknesses. That could also be a factor, but they very much dislike Bind and Breeze. So SAT Esports not going to those. They're happy about that. Fluffy Aimers, though, getting to set the tone on Ascent is big, though.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with that. Having Ascent being able to be picked here by Fluffy Aimers is still looking good here for SAT Esports, because again, Dip could be very comfortable in the Sova. Darkest should be playing a KO, which is really good on as well. And then you should have your duelist, your main duelist, being able to play the same duelist role, which is going to be Skarn and not Alvin at this point. So now you're given a chance here for Alvin to find his footing more into this Sentinel role, and for Kerber, who's recently switched over to controller role, add in more reps, right? So at least you have 3 roles that are super comfortable, and then now it's trying to build the synergy through that. But Split as that second map is going to be super fun, because if you're looking at how you used to play here for Dip, he actually didn't play, it's not a Sova map, right? So he played some Reyna.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to see if it's going to be some Reyna out from Dip on that second map.
We'll have to wait a little bit, because we still have Ascent to get through, and our
Also
agent
true.
select is ready. So I'll send you 2 off, and I'll see you 2 later.
Thanks, bye.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, Ascent, the Sova map. So Dip is happy, Fluffy Aimer's happy, and we get to see some KJ2 and Sova mirror comps. I'm stoked.
Super stoked about this one for sure, because if you're looking at it from the side of Fluffy Aimers, remember last week when we were talking about the match that Fluffy Aimer had against Winthrop University, it was a very close one that went the distance pretty much, and into that third map that had to go into overtime. You needed some clutch plays coming out from Winthrop to be able to close it out. But there's been so many good moments of Mame just popping off. And when I think about Mame as a controller on this map, I also think about him back in the day when he was also opping as an Omen, and also opping as an Astra in his Envy days. And these guys are no slouch to how they approach Ascent. They can be very aggressive, be very good on their end. But now for SAT Esports is try to get those reps in. You're playing a basic map. You're playing a default composition, and now you have an opportunity for the second week to just test the waters. And just a side note, actually, officially maybe like an hour ago, there was finally a retweet coming out from Dip saying, hey, I officially joined SAT Esports, when he actually played a match last week, right? So maybe in that moment, they're just trying to figure things out. But look at this from the beginning. They want to bring the fight right ahead. 3 players pushing down towards mid, Sheriff in the hands of Skarn, and then 2 more on Catwalk.
So you got the jump right up the box. No duck hunt today. But look who's pushing up. Skarn, who wants to test that too. And mid control for SAD. And they have a very heavy stack towards A as well, thinking that's where the hit's going to be coming from. But Fluffy Aimers have a 3-2 split right now, where they seem pretty committed to try and take Catwalk control. And gonna smoke towards Market and leave Pizza open.
Well, here's the thing right now, because you push so aggressively down towards middle, and it was spotted by Pancakes. This is a call right now from the IGL over at FAIM to sell this fake. So they put the smoke towards Market. They're also breaking the turret, and it started pulling out the rotates, but until now, we see the first hits coming up on Catwalk.
Oh, and losing your jet is kind of rough, and what a flash! Wait, Neptune wins that while Flash D is 10 HP though, so best of luck. FluffyAimer's gonna back him up, but with the crunch that happened from Tree, from the site, FluffyAimer's got stuck not really knowing where to look and how to shoot back. D escape. There was a hesitation on how many FluffyAimer's members even got inside of Tree, and you leave the spike in the worst place possible. Dip and Skarn are low. Pancakes through the smoke, just trying to get shots into Skarn, and the smoke perfectly placed to be able to see when the spike gets picked up.
You just thought that in 2 moments, if he actually stood still and shot a ghost shot, that probably would have killed Skarn. Yeah, you're right. Both, like 2 out of the 3 players, Skarn and Dip, were all very low. But what I was trying to say was they did such a good job to start things off here for FluffyAimers to pull that rotate away from the A site, but took a little bit too long to walk up on Catwalk to really engage and fight through. And I almost felt at some point here where Pancakes was able to take control of B site and they got the first blood inside Cat. I thought they were going to fall back and pinch on mid, but they didn't. They committed into that, and Sad held their ground. So we're going into round number 2 with a full classic round. Only Neptune with the Sheriff. He's also meeting with everybody else so that maybe he could try to share some shots through the wall if there's a recon dart, but instead it was a shock, and it does so much damage right now.
Got some good info off the knife there of Neptune, but took some shots. So 25 HP isn't the start that you really wanted, so just grabbing the orb and leaving, but making noise. So with that Sova, of Dip being able to hear that, they can just kind of stand firm, holding B, and it's FluffyAimers that are going to pivot.
Super clean, right? And at the same time, Jonah just had his turret looking out towards the orb in case somebody's tapping it. He jumped down and right-click classic, but as there's no pressure, this gives an opportunity just for the rest of FAIM to move back forward and potentially grab the orb in the later rounds, but instead now walking into Catwalk on a 4-1 split. Should get spotted now. There's no smoke, so they don't want to give any type of tells that they're actually rotated and pivoted over. So you're hoping to surprise these players, but Sad is in such a good position in the back of the A site.
The outlaw in hand too from Skarn, and through the glass, some sturdy glass somehow. Only a bit of damage into FluffyAimers, who just try to surge into the site, but with all the smokes, they're being isolated one by one, and Sad get a flawless round in the anti-eco.
Really thought they were going to try to go at least for that second orb. Unless it was pressured early in the beginning that I didn't get to see, but you know, you tried to do something with the rest of the classics that you had. No shields, so you actually made sure that you maximize the amount of money you can bring into this round. You only see Mama with the lowest buy because he has to spend 400 credits for a Paranoia, which is going to be one of the most useful pieces of utility for your entries towards the site, along with that recon dart. That said, it's just waiting for potentially waiting out the scans from the silver dart from Dip, who's currently being positioned towards this B site, and then they can decide to re-hit towards B later on. But Sad, they're holding aggressive positions, right? They're just trying to find some late information with no sounds, nothing being used on the attack side. They're probably going to start using a little bit more of that towards that minute mark.
She got the flash. Recon bolts,
wow.
But Skarn with the headshot, disgusting Neptune down. And that's a rifle that obviously FluffyAimers want to protect. They're still going to move up from mid, and FluffyAimers have Catwalk smoked out and the back of Pizza, so they know Skarn is a threat there on that side. It's going to be stacked towards B2 with 2 other defenders. FluffyAimers have also Pancakes down to 37 HP. It's been taking FluffyAimers some scrapping to get good map presence. And Skarn, another pick for them. FluffyAimers finding more success in Tree, but deciding to fake and get out, not really knowing what is on the other side, hoping to assist that push towards Markets. And Bones maybe helps open things up, give some numbers for FluffyAimers. But it's just not going to be enough for Sad to pull through.
What a turnaround of events for FluffyAimers, actually. This should have been Sad having that round in the bag. Somehow, I don't know how Skarn did 150 damage at that range from a Sheriff, from Pizza all the way back to bottom mid. But that should have been, I mean, he had an outlaw. He could have gotten that kill, but he at least killed the spike carrier. And that should have allowed here Sad to get a good position to watch that spike. But FAIM, it didn't bother for them to lose the spike. They just wanted to make sure that they continued the progression of scaling and selling that fake towards the A site and B, and they all won their fights, which unfortunately did give a chance here for Sad to really convert their bonus round. you just saw here. Just a simple thing. Recon Dart trying to get information, trying to get an Odin spray, but overcommitment coming out from Sad on middle gets an early punish.
Okay. I don't think they knew Darkest was there. Fluffy Hammers, though, they're always playing that back box, so for them to get first blood is also, you're seeing some wires getting crossed from Sad, but the big 2K from Darkest evens up those numbers 3-3. You still have an Odin playing towards that A site. Fluffy Hammers with the op from Mame getting through that. Sad got info off the drone too, so he's going to be playing more conservatively at the back of the site.
Yeah, and right now, Sad are just going to play some passive information, right? They have aggressive control towards A main, so they know that that's okay. The biggest pressure that could come towards you is Catwalk, where your weakest point is the Odin from Dip, because the rest is just passive information from the turret and the turret and the alarm bot, which then you're forcing a hand for FAIM to let them know where we're actually hitting with 30 seconds left. It's got to be finally found here from the turret getting broken, and Dip has a chance to rotate over and start spamming with the Odin.
Mame left the op behind, and with the Omen smoke to place at the top, Fluffy Hammers have a safer passage towards planting. The shock bolt's not really reaching the plant from Jonah, so that'll be successful from Fluffy Hammers, but it's off angle there from Mame, plus the turret that can let them know when there's presence in boathouse. That'll be the sign for Mame to swing in and try and cut off Sad from infiltrating and try to retake the site. There's Paranoia and the teleport from Coburg into Boathouse, with Mame needing to Neptune needing to react to that, but not happening. Mame gets shut down from B main. And here's the retake from Sad, 2v2 with Neptune peeking out. Great win from Fluffy Hammers.
And you saw the chess match coming through from both Sad and FAIM on how they wanted to play that 3 versus 3. On one end, for the defensive retake for Sad Esports, the biggest piece of util, most importantly, was the Paranoia. I can't believe, by the way, that Darkest was able to move through as a KO to get 2 kills like that. Usually, you're supposed to pop flash for your teammate to go through and get that pick, but somehow he gets 2K out of that. But nonetheless, they had that Paranoia for the retake for Sad Esports, and on the attack side, Neptune had 2 flashes. So they went for the instant counter flash, which nullified the whole attempt of a retake here for Sad Esports. So they stopped the bleeding, right? It was a close call in that round number 3 where they almost lost that round to Sad Esports' bonus, but now they have an opportunity to convert 2 in a row, breaking the econ on the defensive side. That forces the hand of Sad Esports to be a little bit more aggressive on the middle of the map at the very beginning, very similar to their pistol round, but they're playing against some much stronger weapons from FAIM.
Oh, what a shot from Dip. Needed to hit that. And now with the drone, you'll see there's no one there to really back them up and no one through A main. So that's a rifle that Sad can pick up. Unfortunately, it's an Odin, but hey, a gun's a gun. But Dip, as they push up, now Sad are out in the open and Fluffy Hammers are taking full advantage. Now the plan goes down from Mame. A site control for Fluffy Hammers, and with Sad picking up some stray rifles, are they gonna try and retake with this? Neptune is sitting in wine. They might have heard Darkest jump up. You see the barrel of the gun, and Mame is depending on Neptune to get the trade there. Neptune gets pressured back. He's gonna try and flash his way out, do the dance against Darkest. Didn't feel like he had the timing to escape back to site. Now Paranoia will keep him in the corner, and Bones, even in that 1v1 isolated, he'll still convert 1. That's Coburg versus Neptune, and even through the smoke, Neptune will find him.
Everything was looking so good for Sad Esports until the last duel is a smoke kill. That's just so unfortunate. But on that 2 versus 2, you have to give props to Bones' position on the top of the A heaven just to make sure that he caps that kill onto the crossover from Darkest, because they did such a good job here for Coburg and Darkest to close that gap and potentially win that eco for Sad. The good news here for the defensive side is that they continue to chip away the economy that FAIM was trying to build up here in this first half, but not the ult economy. There's a lot going on right now for Fluffy Hammers as they have a default still. Spike on the back of Bones, oddly enough, so you definitely know this is going to be a little bit slower in the very beginning, just to trying to see where Sad could be positioned if they know that there's going to be a stronger buy coming through. And they don't know this yet, but there is an operator out in the hands of Skarn watching towards the A site. So I like this mid pressure to start things off here for Fluffy Hammers, just to get the map a little bit more active here and hopefully punish some players on the rotate for SAD Esports or any type of over peaking.
And it's adjustment from Skarn because he's usually held market. Now he's really holding down A, leaving that mid lane for Fluffy Aimers, which opens up their options of whether they wanted to pinch into the B site or take control of tree. This has been something Fluffy Aimers struggled with in the early rounds, but with better rifles, better weaponry, this is a better Fluffy Aimers. And Neptune with the null command. Fluffy Aimers have more ults to use as well. This will prevent SAD from fighting back well, and Neptune is back on his feet. You got a Hunter's Fury from Pancakes too, if they're worried about how they're dislodging SAD's backline. The plant will go through. Neptune is ready to engage these Heaven members who are going to step up together. But Fluffy Aimers were ready, and it's a firing squad.
Very nice attempt coming out from Darkus, though. He lost his teammates in the process of holding this A site because of great utility coming out from FAIM on the hit. But him dropping the KO ult in the beginning, getting one kill on top of that, delaying that plant, and also making sure that he immediately pops the null command to not give a chance for Pancakes to set up with the Hunter's Fury for that guaranteed round for Fluffy Aimers so that they could actually start flooding back within the site. But unfortunately there, he gets a third kill in the round, but nothing more towards the end as Fluffy Aimers had the crossfire set up at the post plant. Change of pacing though, push forward, nice shot from Skarn. Somehow expected Mummy to be on the top of that shed in the spawn at the beginning. So I'm loving that the chess match continues between these two teams.
Skarn believes you heard the Bladestorm pop as soon as the round began. But it will be Coburg also protecting that A site. Fluffy Aimers lose yet another member before they've even gotten eyes on any site. One at B main, the other one right at spawn. So it's really hurting their chances though. But Bones has a rifle. He's got good aim. This is why you picked up the guy. He's gonna dash in. He knows where Coburg is. Has a chance. An isolated 1v1 in the smoke. At the back is Dip as the Sova. He's gonna try and get information. No, that's actually a shock bolt. So I don't think he... Oh yeah, he doesn't even have a recon bolt. He's just gonna try and shock his way and pressure Fluffy Aimers back, buy some time. With the door closing, Fluffy Aimers are taking steps to take the site.
They had to drop the spike too just to make sure that it's gonna be Neptune that's gonna plant so that Pancakes could use his Hunter's Fury.
Oh, just jumped into that Hunter's Fury, but Fluffy Aimers, despite all the ult advantages they had, to be fair, it was a 5 versus 3 for the defense, so it was going to be a hard round to get back for Fluffy Aimers, but fantastic Thrifty from SAD.
Exactly, still off a Thrifty for SAD Esports. To start things off on Skarn getting that shot with the Bladestorm on top of Mame was a great start here for SAD Esports to start adding that pressure because they've already gotten great information towards this A side push. They're like, okay, maybe the pressure is going to be on middle. Maybe it's going to be towards B. So let us preemptively throw a Hunter's Fury, and Dip actually did get contact and picked one off. And then they just forced here Fluffy Aimers to just pivot with the last 3 players remaining with no map control to just work together towards the A site. And who better than Dark is the IGL dropping 3 kills, 2 with the shirt, 1 with a nade, and Dip this round with the Silva through the wall to drop Bones. And that is the Bladestorm immediately canceled.
Dip literally did this last round. Fluffy Aimers are hanging around. The shock bolt is gonna hurt too.
You should run.
Fluffy Aimers, they're still trying to stay in this hallway, depend on the lockdown to flush out SAD, but the op is staring this down. The drone's gonna come out, and this is big. Fluffy Aimers are brought down to only 3 members who are injured. Nobody teleports in with the spike and drops in the closet. And no idea that Dip's Odin fell that back. And what a well-timed flash too. Fluffy Aimers, they walk into a trap and they get mauled.
And a 4K. They got mauled by a 4K from Dip. The one where we're like, okay, well, if it's not going to be a Silva map, I don't know how Dip's going to play. But at least this time we're starting on a Silva map, and he delivers. A great wallbang kill, great information off the recon dart, round after round, how he's getting also chip damage done with the shock darts into B main, not allowing here these lower buys from Fluffy Aimers to get any value. And it's again, the Northwood duo of Darkus and Dip just lighting up the scoreboard for SAD Esports in this defensive half. There's no entry right now. There's no entry point on Tree or on B site because of these two players, and there's no opportunity to play a post plant because of Darkest. This definitely is the moment to call a timeout here for Fluffy Aimers, because now you got shut down on retakes.
Sorry.
That's okay. Now see, Dip's winning us. He's got a cat on top of that in front of his camera, right? So
you've converted me. I don't care what you want, chick. Show cats. Show cats right now.
So yes, so looking at this, right? When they had opportunities for Fluffy Aimers to get these plans, to be positioned in the pulse plan, they got shut down. But now they got shut down at the beginning of the round. They got shut down in a site execution with the lockdown. So you're realizing now that your game plan from A to Z is not working, and it's now time to think on the fly of how you could punish here Sad's positioning, right? Dip's doing a great job anchoring towards this B site. They're showing a lot of mid pressure, at least at the beginning for Sad, with Skarn in that spot. Do you want to start using double initiator with a knife recon dart to just get better mid control and just go for fast pops for a split in the end? Because your slow pacing for Fluffy Aimers is starting not to work out here as the economy and everything is going in the way of Sad in the last two rounds.
It felt like a pacing thing for Fluffy Aimers. You know, you had the lockdown, then there wasn't an eagerness. There was a drone that came out. They were getting hailed on by an Odin. So Fluffy Aimers, you could see that they just need a bit of confidence. This is what this timeout is all about. We know what we gotta do. Just do it like you did in scrims, and Bone steps up, takes care of Skarn. And Fluffy Aimers have established themselves not only in the middle of the map, but leaning towards B with their spike, going towards B main. And with Dip, remember that got a 4K. That's not being as loud and proud as before. And with that knife from Darkest, you know that Fluffy Aimers are not too close, not too far. Neptune and the friends of Fluffy Aimers with not only first, but also second blood. Sad playing at the back here, trying to stay safe.
Colberg has the timing. Now finally Mummy turns over, and at least they know now that there's a flank coming through, and that's Neptune with the op that they picked up, getting two nice picks and not allowing here Sat to set up on their defensive line towards B. The wall bang somehow onto Dip, who's the last player standing. You know the spike's going towards the A site where everybody else is going to try to close in, and Neptune on the Thrifty for FAIM allows here this round to be converted off the timeout that they said. I mean, everything was there from A to Z. Fight against Skarn on the top of Pizza. Use the utility to push him away, pick him off. But then I loved here, instead of picking up the tempo and going towards the B side to overwhelm that spot, they just picked up the op and waited for the overextension and over rotates of Sad, and Neptune delivered it in that round.
Yeah, I like that Fluffy Aimers have tried to change up where their smoke's positioned in mid, whether it's to isolate that person in market, aka Skarn, and with the jiggle peek, both teams are going to respect mid. Fluffy Aimers post timeout, already finding much more success, much more energy on the field just overall.
Right here.
Now coming out.
Yeah, the aggression's different, right? This is standard stuff as well, just to make sure you take down the turret and hold that line. If you know the money's still good for Sad, you know there's an op there. So look at the pivot from FAIM. They're going back for a split towards the A site. They spot Darkest, and they just want to push them back and have an opportunity to try to plant here towards this A site if they can get these picks.
Timing is everything. You got smokes too from Mame if you wanted to make this a safer passage for your op, but not worried about anyone in glass. It's about the players on the site. They just pinged Darkest, and he was on the left, and they've already read on the right. The flash! They're coming soon enough! Fluffy Aimers go toe for toe, left with a 3v3, dashing in, finishing what he started as Bones. And Fluffy Aimers, all they have left is to plant. Quickly racing back, though, is Alvin and Skarn, lockdown in hand, waiting for the plant to go down before the lockdown maybe is put down.
The layers are good here for FAIM. Just like an onion, and how they executed towards the A site, just to make sure that there was a trade or a backstab from A to Z, from beginning to the end, until it forces out an early lockdown. So Sad wants to commit into this with an op in hand. That's a tough call.
Lockdown will be protected, and Mame teleports out to avoid the detain. And actually, no, Mame did get detained, so Jonah has to protect the spike here. And the KJ Util will buy the time for Mame to get undetained out of jail. And Fluffy Aimers with 2 rounds back to back.
And that's good enough too, right? He heard the TP leaving out, and instead of doing that signature play that we know Mummy did last week against Winthrop University, was cancel the ult, and he was going to get spotted right away by Scarred, dropping inside hell. But as you mentioned, as he got detained, you're happy here that your Killjoy was able to move out, get the Nanostorm on the ground, delay even more, not allowing Scarn to even stick that spike and just win the 2v1 towards the end. So it's good. A timeout coming out from Fluffy Aimers. They convert into 2 rounds in a row. And for Sad, for them to try to get a little bit more active around the map with the operator. As soon as they hold one line, though, the rest seems a little bit too passive because they want to play more passively, right? You have more players in the site because you know the hit should be coming on towards the other site when you already have the full lockdown of Long B. So right now it's for them to decide if they want to be proactive despite the lane that you've already shut down here from Skarn. But if you're trying to play a little bit more passively here, you gotta have that extra body, because you saw in that previous round all of those trades went in favor of Fluffy Aimers just because they had an extra body. Those kills were alternated pretty much in that last round.
Got Null Command, Hunter's Fury. But I think the scrap is going to happen mid. This time, Darkus is going to help flash through mid. And remember, he got a pretty important 2K. When you let Darkus roam free mid, it can really surprise you. They do have to check that back box, but as they went for that Darkus play in the earlier rounds, Fluffy Aimers were not going to let that happen a second time. So with that first blood, it gave Fluffy Aimers some map control there of mid. They've smoked the back of Pizza, but the drone above will reveal the presence of Fluffy Aimers mid and even get a ping on it. And Sad, I mean, especially Div just has to hold back here, especially as a Hunter's Fury. If he's worried about this lane, he could pressure it out.
And the buddy system, it's going to be 3 players in contact of Dip, which is something, as I've just mentioned before, that Sad didn't have here on the defensive side. Darkus falls on B main, and this opens up the B site here for Fluffy Aimers to be able to get a plant.
Just roaring into the site here at this Odin, so it will be free for the taking with 5 players on the post plant, including an Odin. You got a turret in Boathouse. Jonah's going to be watching over it, but then also Neptune watching through mid from Market. Mame all the way in spawn, also watching mid. Sad will have to engage somebody. There is not a flank potential with this team.
And Mame was kind of caught in the corner, pinged twice by a recon dart, and then a smoke came towards Lee. He's like, I'll take it. They realized then after that smoke that Sad Esports are going to be on an eco, trying to save their last weapons for the last round of the half. So closing the gap are the players of Fluffy Aimers. Turret's going to spot Pancakes on the top of Heaven. And this is not looking too good here for Sad until now. Able to save at least these 3. Gap's getting close here.
Oh, it's Sad and Alvin get denied.
All of them.
In the half.
Yeah, oof. That was post-Sad timeout too. They really wanted to salvage these last 2 rounds.
At least they'll still be somewhat of a buy-in, right? Guardian, small shields, 2 big ults. They did pretty good on the aggression of the lower buy on that draft on the updraft dash on the top of the wall, just to try to catch Mummy off guard on the top of the shed. He's definitely not playing that spot again, but it almost seems like the idea is still very similar. Push aggressively, get information. And all 3 of them are going to start working together here, walking out just to get this spot.
Last round of the half with Hunter's Fury, Null Command. This defense wants it bad. Sad already pushing up through a main off the flash. Fluffy Aimers know there's a heavy stack this way, but they're ready to tussle too. They got numbers leaning right. And you got your lurker of Jonah checking out B. Haven't heard much over there either.
Spike drop.
But the more time that Sad wastes, the better it is for the defense.
100% because of this Hunter's Fury and the KO ult. that would foil all the plans here for
Revealing area.
the players to come through. And you can already see it, the audible call by Pancakes. I'm going to try to get this orb. I'm going to try to keep them towards the A site. If I get the orb or something, I'm going to try to sell a fake towards A, so we can rotate over to the B site and get a hit.
Oh, Pancakes still trying to make as much noise as he can. Still selling, like you said, that the stack is still towards A, but dashing in his bones. Already pushing through Boathouse and smokes in place along with KO nades. So, Fluffy Aimers get a plant. They'll just double check through the closet, and Bones is playing dip dive, and Dodgy gets 100 Fury. That gets 2. Sad are going towards an 8-4 half if they can keep this up, but Sad are so injured though. They only have 2 members left of Fluffy Aimers to get through, and it's just Pancakes with the Odin. A flawless final round of the hack for Sad.
These rounds coming out from Sad Esports, the 5, at least 3 of them out of the 5 were off the back of Dip, and the latest IGL being Darkest coming through. I mean, those Hunter's Furies somehow got the Jet updrafting and just understood where the Jet was going to go, picks him off, and then also gets a second kill on Mummy, which doesn't allow here Fluffy Aimers to get a plant inside the B site, because everybody else were playing outside B, and you still had Pancakes trying to rotate over from the A site fake. So a nice salvage round towards the end from some heroic plays by the Northwood players, the ex-Northwood players of Darkest and Dip. Pissed around now, trying to take the momentum and gain the momentum on their side with a 50 win. It's a 5-man hit towards the A side, and Scarred pushing with the frenzy.
Jesus, with the throws. They got paranoid though. Huge play out of Mame. Claims a kill into Scarn, and Neptune throws the knife. They know this is a full hit from Sad, and they don't want to walk in not knowing what's on. Sad don't want to walk in knowing what's on. They don't know what's on the other side.
They can,
Darkest used all their util, or probably didn't even have any, so they're gonna just take the orb and leave.
Especially with a frenzy here for the round and a molly, you don't have too much width to be able to support the rest of the team, and they almost had them pinned for a bit from this forward position for Pancakes. He does have contact from the players rotating away from the A site, and now the pivot's towards Catwalk, but the players are still ready here. Everybody's already rotated over from Fluffy Aimers from that first engagement of Mame.
Gonna merge through tree, and Jonah's like, guys, I think I heard someone. And the shock bolt to try and pressure out the person from the corner. Pancakes, it's just the training range all over again. The Kovacs, wait, Coburg. It's kind of different. 11 HP though, 1v2, and the chase is on. The high-low setup on the other side. Coburg. Oh, wait. Okay, I was worried when Bones started to shift away. He was kind of in a 1v1, but good round.
Yeah, just making sure that they were going to get backstabbed towards the end, and it gave that window of opportunity here. These shots from Pancakes, again, the silvers are popping off on this map rather, and that shot, there was only 1 bullet left after Pancakes shot all of his shot and still made that count for Coburg and gave a chance here for Sad Esports to potentially win if he was able to get more shots like that. But I love that you use the elevation here on the flower pots for the high-low, and it just is going to make it so difficult for you to win around towards the end.
Just a bunch of classics. Just maximizing as much utility. 2 flashes for Sad. And even buy the drone too, so a lot of options. And you see that, I think Alvin was taking some shots through the wall and just maybe alerting that Fluffy Aimers could be pushing him more aggressively through there. Sad have cut all noise, but there's KJ Util, there's still some Sova shock bolts from Pancakes that are gonna hurt them.
Everything's just looking too good here for Fluffy Aimers to hold the defensive line.
Ooh, this is gonna hurt. Look, Darkest is already down to 16. Scarred to... he's dead. He's down to the grave. And Sad are in a tough spot. Hoping to just get the orb and leave, I guess, but you still got to plant. 40 seconds left.
Couldn't even get an orb. So at this point you also have to just give your bodies away this round, just like Skarn. Because you can't afford to just stay alive in this round. You're only going to get 1,000 credits, so Just run to your death. Mame, easy kills with the Spectre. And that's Fluffy Aimers. No surprises, no shenanigans this time around with Sad's thrifty rounds. We're back into a normal game of Valorant here.
Yeah.
Yeah, pissed around, converted that one. Now you have a good bonus here because you only lost one player as well against the buy here of Sad Esports.
And the one ways I think really hurt Sad. I mean, they tried to go through A main, one way, annoying, grab the orb, leave. What happened on B? One way, more annoying stuff. KJ, util, and you're getting hit through the wall. It's like everything Sad tried got spat back in their face. But hey, at least they got rifles now. So Sad down 4 rounds. Taking a cool spot there from Coburg to see if he can spot. I don't know if it's going to be Bones or maybe Pancakes you would expect to be holding mid, but it's looking pretty free. But they could also just be playing from spawn, so.
It gives them a chance, too, to just pop some shots long range to let themselves known so that maybe somebody could overpeak. But they're doing a double flash to do so, and it works. Get information on 3. Nobody dead yet.
How did Fluffy Aimers not get anything out of that? You had Bones dashing in from mid. Like you said, you had a flash from Catwalk and just not... Maybe the timing was a bit off because the Jet dashed back. Mame disengaged too. And
the player on top of top mid on the green boxes. I don't think they expected that spot too. So crosshairs were not positioned for that pre-fired shot. So you'll still play the information game. And for Sad Esports, it seems as though it's the A site. Alarm bot now being heard too. Here's the hit.
Backstab 1 and 2. And they didn't expect it. Now they're turning around. What happened to our spike? Scarring at least converts 2. Gives them a fighting chance. Got to get the spike down immediately before the retake thinks you're too weak. The turret on top to maybe ping someone at heaven. The Skarn can play from hell. The smoke will dissipate. You heard noise from Tree, but it was only a distraction. That's the Heaven. The Heaven KJ player of Jonah crunches down on both. And it's a successful retake for Fluffy Aimers.
Off their bonus on such a low buy. Especially after the first trap play that they did there on middle. They had no utility left. Most of it was pretty much a Hail Mary at the beginning of the round. And it all came down to, let's just hold tight angles and hope to God that they're not crossing over and spotting us out. And it worked out. Mame got 2 kills from that. And we know, and we've seen how good so far in this first map, how Fluffy Aimers has been when it comes down to having that extra body just to make sure that they guarantee that last trade. Beautifully done here by Fluffy Aimers. And Sad Esports now going to try to pop flash and play quick towards A main. But it's a lower buy.
It's an aggressive hit. Sad just need to be able to gap close to be able to do good damage. And it's a 2-2 loss for both. The Sad able to upgrade at least 1 rifle. And the drone will spot Jonah here in a second, and maybe even hear this Odin from Pancakes coming up. The plant will ensue, and you have Neptune in tree breaking down the door. The timing of Fluffy Aimers coming in from heaven too is important. All of Sad playing in hell, and Fluffy Aimers will be able to call that out. So as soon as Pancakes reloads, he could just spray through hell. But a stuck hunt for someone like Jonah, who's just relentless on these retakes.
And I accept what Darkez did there too. With the null command, he could actually lean out a little bit more just to get information so that they don't play in total darkness, no pun intended. Because he does have the null command, gives an opportunity for a trade to happen and hopefully enough of a window to get a res. But as soon as he gets taken down, unfortunately, there's no opportunities for the other 2 players because they already started walking out to hold back of Jenny. So you didn't have a 3-player hold anymore, which then just didn't allow here Sad Esports to convert their Laura buy. Off that game plan that almost would have worked out because you mentioned it. Those 2 kills that they've gotten inside that A site meant weapon upgrades for Sad Esports. It could have had a strong fight towards the end, but in those duels you just saw, all in favor of Fluffy Aimers once again. So the last time out now for the map for Sad Esports. FAIM still has 1 more. But these initiators continue to provide so much value for both of these teams this map.
The defense from Fluffy Aimers is so good. I mean, Sad haven't won an offensive round yet, and that's why the score is getting further and further away from them. So sad, they've tried everything from an aggressive A hit, then they run into Mame who's sitting in wine who shoots them in the back. That causes confusion. Sad run in, there's smokes all over, then there's pancakes or someone at the back that's raining hell on them. So sad, I feel like haven't started an entry with an advantage with first blood in quite a while, and that's something they desperately need. And they're close to some pretty important ultimates. Bladestorm from the shadows, 2 away from lockdown. Like, this is a turning point for Sad. And the Hunter's Fury from Fluffy Aimers as Sad surge into A main. And that is gonna hurt a lot.
Well, the knife got thrown by Darkus on the fly, so no more pulses coming through. Gives a chance now for Sad to move into sight. And you saw a nice pop flash that came out too from Darkus just to make sure that it couldn't come across and get picked off here by the op of Bones. So it'll be a 5 versus 5 retake.
Sad did get injured. They heard that Odin and Tree. Dip holds down the flank. Do you know there's a second one? Jonah, great swing. Now there's danger from behind, and Sad are just trying to huddle and bunker down into the site, or Fluffy Aimers will go to match point. And Sad, they unite and conquer together as Neptune will save the gun. This will be finally the first offensive round win for Sad in this half.
Yeah, and it's off a play here that you wouldn't have expected from Fluffy Aimers to somehow ult out in the open from Catwalk into A main. I mean, the corridor is perfect to get so many kills. And that knife, I mean, there's only a certain radius that you could actually hit when you're throwing it against the wall on Catwalk, and thankfully, it was wide enough here to prevent Pancakes from getting more value out of that Hunter's Fury. If he actually maybe popped it from the green boxes, but I guess he didn't want to get exposed from top mid, so it makes sense that he plays it from there. And that was just a very nice reactionary play by Darkus to allow Sad to get into the site very cleanly and to win a good pulse plan in the end. So trailing behind by 5 rounds. It's a 5-player hit once again for Sad. Maybe for them it's just like, okay, let's just continue a 5-player hit every single time and try to get some value.
Oh, Jonah's in a bad position. He's been exposed and he just swings and fires. Jonah's so good in under pressure situations to go 1-for-1 there. It's important. Leaves Sad with 3. With shock bolts, and I guess no more Alvin, who's maybe trying to get their KJ util set up. Neptune's gonna break down the door. No. Hello, Coburg. But Dip says goodbye in the end. Dip just has to play the post plant. No smokes that can block him. Oh, actually, Bones has smokes, but Pancakes is gonna tap the spike. They're ready to hose down Dip, who has a recon bolt, and it shifts the attention away as they dealt with the recon bolt. Sad got 1 pick. Time running out. Bones will not get the 1v1 he wanted. He'll smoke the spike and get the win at the end. And Fluffy Aimers match point? Question mark?
Yeah, no, put a period on that one for sure.
Period.
But it was still a very nice try. I was ready to pop off if Dip was able to win that 1 versus 2, because throwing that recon dart and wide swinging just to make sure that you get the player that's going to break that dart. He already knew from the first jiggle peeks. He saw where Bones was positioned with that op. So he knew that it was a 50-50 chance. If Bones doesn't land that shot, he's going to win that duel. He did so. But unfortunately, Bones still had a cloud burst that was able to drop that onto the spike. And now the mind games continued, and it allowed here Bones to win the 1v1 in the end. But if it ain't broke, don't fix it onto how we're hitting these sites. 3 players inside, Spike trying to follow up, but the other 2 players are a little bit further back here towards B. This is quite interesting how this round is unraveling for Sad's approach.
Wait, Cobra teleported with the spike and drops it!
Yeah.
Oh, that's so yikes. I thought that lockdown from Jonah was early because they hadn't even planted, so it forced Sad to funnel into, I guess, the most goated player ever on Fluffy Aimers, but Sad... Yeah, they're staring down the barrel of match point against Fluffy Aimers, and they're getting picked apart. Big map win for Fluffy Aimers on Ascent, 13-6.
Unfortunately, when it comes down to that lockdown that was preemptive there, that looked preemptive from Jonah, that also allows here Fluffy Aimers not to over-rotate at that point. So an easy kill to come through there for the last player towards the back of the boathouse, towards the back of the B site to drop the spike here. And it's almost a little bit of like taste of your own medicine kind of thing, because remember that round we actually had Dip in the back of that B site and Mole 4 players with the Odin. That was a TP from Mummy towards the back of the site that he denied. So this time Pancakes was able to avenge his teammate in the same way, taking Colbert down and also putting the nail in the coffin on the first map, giving the win here for Fluffy Aimers.
And we knew that SAD were going to be under construction with just the role changes, the new players, and that's where they suffered the most on offense, where IGLing is everything on Ascent. But walking into the very prepared strats out of Fluffy Aimers was, hey, it was a fun map to watch, and nonetheless, we could have one more to go. So we'll see where we go after the break.
The game starts long before the game starts. And warm hands are faster hands. Gain the upper hand and power up your pregame warm-up with Zippo hand warmers.
Face.